Okay, so I am going to cover week 2 code along, but as you watch this, know that this video that you're seeing in this item will be the same video I post for each week's code along, because the thing that changes, of course, is the section or the videos that we're doing inside of the course for Udemy, right? So as an example, for this one, we happen to be doing all of a section, but sometimes you'll be only doing a number of videos, and I'll always tell you which ones that is, right? So in this case, we're doing all of that section. But here's the key, couple of things, is you want to do this work in your private repos. Okay, anytime there's a code along, you do it inside of your private repo, and anytime there's a learn together, you do that inside of your public, because the public allows everyone to see it, but the private only you and I see. All right, so for this one, I would need to, as a student, go through and code along. So the key is each video, once you finish it. Now, the first one in this example, and this is fairly common, doesn't have any coding in it, but starting in the second one and the ones thereafter, there are coding that you will follow along, code along with Andrew. And then before you start the next one, do it all the way through. Before you start the next one, stop and do the Git workflow that we learned in week 1 for each file. But really, and sometimes there's a file that corresponds to the video, but sometimes there might be multiple files, and that way, you could have multiple files, but just know that at the end of that video, you're going to stop and do the Git workflow. Okay. So that's important, and really important, and you've probably heard me say this already, but where he does a challenge, make sure you do that challenge, attempt it on your own, because this is really where you're going to take what you've learned and see how well you've translated it. Now, it's not bad to look at his output, but just give yourself that time to really pause and attempt to do it without, before you look. So the more time you give yourself, and that varies student to student, the better off you're going to be as we progress into writing actual apps in this class. So I'm going to flip over just real quick. Again, I'm only talking about this one, but you'll see this for all other weeks. So I'm going to go ahead and move over to VS Code, because I did this today. Just to kind of remind myself of some of the gotchas that can happen. But I want to show you a few things, and I'm actually recording this new for the spring 21 students, because one of the things, especially now that we're working in command line, and that's the other thing, is that Andrew works in an external program on the Mac. It's Terminal, right? On Windows, you have, I can't even remember the name of it right now, but you have an equivalent. Now, I prefer to just do terminal, new terminal. And again, I probably already talked about this, but just reminding you here. The other thing is that it's good to know how to do CD moving back a directory or CD moving into a directory, knowing that, right, you can move in and out. But it's also good to know that you can just right click on a subdirectory and say open that, and it will open a new terminal. Notice this is Bash, and hopefully you've already talked about Bash, but if not, you can always ask me. And then I can run that code from there. Okay, so that's one thing. The other thing is being really careful to understand, and I did this today as I was working through, so this is why I'm reminding you, is that when you're creating a new file, make sure you're in that folder, create that new file here, but you might accidentally create a folder where you want to create a file, so you can just delete it, or if you haven't hit enter, you can just hit escape to get out of there. Learning to use VS Code, I'm going to suggest thinking, if you haven't considered taking my 82 class, we learn more of those fundamentals. Okay, so now that I've just kind of reminded myself and hopefully you about some of the gotchas that are here, what I do is I do the git add after each one. Okay, so you could do the add. Let me just clear the terminal real quick so we're not seeing this other, right? So after each video, And often after with each new file after at the end, right, you can just do git add, and you could do the specific file name, but I just do star, right? Now I don't have anything in this case because I've already done the git add, the git commit -m, and here's where in my instruction I say give me the section number you're working on and then the video. So there are different file names for each video. That's why in here, if you just say the video number, right, then that tells me, and that's good. This is a git commit message that I want to see this format. Okay, so do that. Now the thing I haven't done, so that's just a little reminder, and I'm going to move over to the web here, is I have not pushed this code yet. So what I do is I write code, I do the git workflow, and then when I'm all done with the section, the last thing I will do before I actually go to submit it is I do a git push. Now you can do a git push after each one if you want, but I just happen to like to do git push at the end. And what that does is it's going to push all of the code that I wrote, and here's where I'm showing you this, out to here. Now the reason I don't see it here is that I just hit simply a refresh. Cool. And then I see that file and that folder and then that folder within there. Okay, so, but that's not the way I want you to submit it from here on out. And this is the last thing I'll say in this particular video. So notice that there are 12 commits on here. Okay, but if I move into here, right, and that's good, is I can actually see that here's the files, but what I want you to submit is actually your commits. So if you click on history there, now I can see all those commits that I did. And now the other thing you can do is you can see the commits per directory. So you'd come up here, and I'm going to back up just to show you that again. So as I'm looking at my files that I created and my git messages, my commit messages, I just come over to history and make sure I'm in that same, in this case, basics. Again, this will change as you move through. And then you grab that, copy, and then that is how you submit your work. Okay, now you're going to submit the URL. You've already done that before. Now, because I'm not viewing it as a student, you do just have a box here that you can put on there. Okay, last thing, I guess this is, I apologize, I'm not apologizing, but one more thing is I want you to think about is these files will really serve as your notes. So it's okay to write additional notes in here. And notice the other thing is I don't do end of line semicolons. I just don't. I don't find them helpful, but you totally can. It really is a styling thing. Okay, so FYI, I just wanted to give you that. Again, this will be the same video you will see for each week. So know that for next week, for week 3 code along, we're doing all of section 4, but the video will remain the same because I'm just giving you a walkthrough. All right, hope that helps. Talk to you later.